In the history of American television, few shows have achieved what Schoolhouse Rock accomplished. 64 short films that taught millions of children while their creators earned almost nothing. This is the story of how jazz musicians, advertising executives, and a barn full of forgotten master tapes created one of the most influential educational programs ever broadcast, only to watch the work-for-hire contracts hand all ownership to ABC and later to Disney. The year was 1973 when advertising executive David McCall noticed something peculiar about his son. The boy could memorize Rolling Stones lyrics without effort, yet multiplication tables remained impossible to learn. This observation would change educational television forever. McCall recognized that music was the key, and he knew exactly who to call: Bob Dorough, a genuine jazz legend who had performed with Miles Davis himself. Dorough accepted the challenge and composed "3 is a Magic Number," the first song that would prove McCall's theory correct. When the concept needed approval to reach ABC's airwaves, it found an unlikely champion. Chuck Jones, the legendary animator behind Bugs Bunny and countless Warner Brothers cartoons, saw something special in these musical lessons. He delivered a simple directive to Michael Eisner: buy it. And Eisner did. The show needed a name, and the team found their inspiration in Elvis Presley's Jailhouse Rock, adapting it to become Schoolhouse Rock. From 1973 to 1985, the series would produce 64 episodes that aired between Saturday morning cartoons on ABC. The production process followed strict guidelines. Every song had to run exactly 3 minutes, not a second more or less. This wasn't an arbitrary decision by television executives seeking to maximize commercial time. The Bank Street College of Education reviewed and approved each episode, ensuring educational accuracy and age-appropriate content. These constraints shaped the series, forcing creators to distill complex subjects into precisely timed musical lessons. Bob Dorough wasn't just a hired composer working on a children's show. He was a respected figure in the jazz world, someone who had shared stages with Miles Davis. He brought that authentic musical sensibility to every note. The musicians working on Schoolhouse Rock made another unconventional choice. They used their own children as backup singers. Dorough's daughter, Aretha, sang alongside the kids of other musicians, creating vocals that sounded genuine because they were. These weren't child actors in a recording studio. They were the sons and daughters of jazz musicians, growing up in a world where Saturday morning television and serious musical craft intersected. The cultural impact extended far beyond elementary school classrooms. In 1989, the hip-hop group De La Soul sampled "3 is a Magic Number" for their track, introducing Dorough's composition to an entirely new generation and musical genre. The show's influence had jumped from educational television to the charts, proving that these 3-minute lessons contained something more than simple pedagogy. They were legitimate musical works that resonated across decades and genres. Interplanet Janet taught children about astronomy and the solar system, presenting Pluto as the 9th planet with the confidence of established science. The episode became a time capsule of astronomical understanding before the International Astronomical Union's controversial 2006 decision to reclassify Pluto as a dwarf planet. Children who learned their planets from Schoolhouse Rock had to unlearn one lesson decades later. "I'm Just a Bill" became the most iconic civics lesson in American television history. Jack Sheldon's voice brought the lonely Bill sitting on Capitol Hill to life, explaining the legislative process through a melody that stuck in millions of minds. The song achieved something textbooks struggled to accomplish. It made constitutional procedure memorable and even touching. Generations of Americans would forever hear Sheldon's voice when they thought about how laws are made. Lynn Ahrens contributed the Preamble, setting the Constitution's opening words to music. "We the People, in order to form a more perfect union," became a song that students could sing decades after leaving school. The Founding Fathers had written those 52 words to establish the purpose of America's government. Ahrens transformed them into something children could memorize as easily as a pop song on the radio. After the series ended its original run in 1985, Schoolhouse Rock faded from Saturday morning television. but college students who had grown up watching the show between cartoons hadn't forgotten. In 1993, they brought enough attention and nostalgia to convince networks to revive the series. The children who had learned multiplication and grammar through music were now adults with purchasing power and cultural influence. They wanted their own children to experience what they had experienced. The 40th anniversary celebration at the Kennedy Center demonstrated just how deeply Schoolhouse Rock had embedded itself in American culture. The Millennium Stage, which had hosted countless performers and events, saw its largest crowd ever for the Schoolhouse Rock anniversary. Thousands gathered to celebrate educational television, jazz composition, and childhood memories. When asked which song Americans remembered most, Junction consistently topped the list. The song about connecting words had itself become a connection point for millions of shared experiences. Then came a discovery that seemed almost too perfect for a Hollywood script. Master tapes from the original series were found in a barn in Connecticut. The physical media that contained these culturally significant recordings had been stored in agricultural storage, vulnerable to moisture, temperature changes, and simple neglect. The find ensured that future generations could experience the show with optimal quality, preserving not just the educational content, but the authentic sound of Dorough's jazz arrangements and the children's voices. The financial reality behind Schoolhouse Rock reveals the darker side of creative work in corporate media. The series was produced under work-for-hire contracts, meaning the composers, animators, and creators signed away all ownership rights. ABC owned everything from the beginning, and when Disney acquired ABC, ownership transferred to an even larger corporation. Bob Dorough, jazz legend and creator of 3 is a Magic Number, made almost no money from the show's enduring success. The same applied to every musician, writer, and artist who contributed to the 64 episodes. Residuals, merchandise rights, and licensing fees flowed to corporate owners, not to the people who had actually created the work. This arrangement was standard practice in advertising and television production, but it seems particularly cruel given Schoolhouse Rock's longevity and cultural impact. The show continued generating value for decades after its creation, through revivals, DVD sales, streaming rights, and licensing deals. The creators watched their work become part of American childhood while receiving only their original fees. David McCall's observation about his son, Bob Dorough's jazz genius, and Lynn Ahrens's lyrical skill had combined to create something that lasted far longer than anyone expected. The compensation didn't match the achievement. Schoolhouse Rock succeeded because it solved a problem that educators had struggled with for generations: how to make essential information memorable. David McCall's insight about music and memory proved correct. Bob Dorough's jazz credibility ensured the songs weren't condescending children's music, but legitimate compositions that adults could appreciate. The 3-minute time limit forced clarity and focus. The Bank Street College of Education's approval process maintained educational standards, and the decision to use real musicians' children created authentic vocal performances. From a Connecticut barn to the Kennedy Center's largest Millennium Stage crowd, from Saturday morning television to De La Soul's sampling, from Jack Sheldon's Bill to Lynn Ahrens's Preamble, Schoolhouse Rock demonstrated that educational content and artistic excellence weren't mutually exclusive. The series taught multiplication, grammar, civics, and astronomy through music that respected both its young audience and the art form itself. 64 episodes, each exactly 3 minutes long, each approved by educators, each performed by jazz musicians who brought their children to the studio. The creators signed work-for-hire contracts and made almost no money. The show they created taught millions and became part of American culture. That's the complete, complicated story of Schoolhouse Rock.